Hey everyone and welcome to the Retro channel, and today some more Commodore 64 repairs, but these ones are a little bit special. What I have here is basically a stack of parts boards. These are boards that I've deemed to be too far gone or missing too many chips or just had too many faults that I didn't want to narrow down at the time. And today I want to go through these and see if we can fix any of them, and if so, if we can make maybe a half decent machine out of at least one of them. The reason for this is because I've been going through all the things in this room, trying to get organized and actually clear out a little bit of space, and I realized that I had a whole number of Commodore 64s, which I guess isn't a big surprise, but most of those I've actually cleaned up and will be releasing back out into the wild, so to speak. If you're interested in any of those machines, I'll be slowly listing them on my eBay store over the coming weeks, so there'll be a link to that down in the video description, but yeah, unfortunately postage will be limited to Australia for those ones. So you can think of those as the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, and what we have left here are the Danny DeVitos. So let's take a look at what we've got and see if we can maybe get one or two of these working again. So to start off with, we have the top half of a bread bin, which has seen better days, and obviously missing a few keys from the keyboard as well. There's also another keyboard. This is the one that used to sit on my VIC-64, and as you can see, there's sort of discoloration with some of the keys. I consider this keyboard really not fit for sale. And getting to the boards themselves, we have a 407 board, obviously missing a couple of CIAs, the SID, the PLA, and not sure about the VIC-II. We'll have a look at that in a second. And the second board, similar state of affairs. This is a 425 board, missing the VIC-II, SID, kernel ROM, and CIAs. That's going to be a common story, I think. Yeah, looking at this next board, a 466, once again missing every major IC, and even the two RAM chips that are on these boards. There's also some little bodge wires happening because I do vaguely remember when I first got this board, I noticed a couple of broken traces and did start repairing those. But I think I then got desperate and started removing some of the major ICs to repair some other Commodores, and yeah, looks like I just pulled these out using hot air because the through holes on these are all still full of solder. So don't know about this board. This one could be quite the challenge to get working again. And here is a board that probably a lot of you have seen in the past. This is my ZIF socketed 64, and yes, this is included in my pile of boards that don't really work anymore because this thing has issues. I think the ZIF sockets, at least some of them are failing. I guess that shouldn't be a big surprise because all of these ZIF sockets are clone ZIF sockets of the original 3M. I think they're called Textool. If you look closely on these, they actually say TFXT TDOL, so Textool. Yeah, clone ZIF sockets, and they've sort of been failing and giving me issues. So seeing as I can't really rely on this board anymore, I'm going to retire it completely, and that means we can steal whatever chips we need off of this thing. You'll notice that the VIC-II is a ceramic version with an X on it. I think this still kind of works, although I think it fails in like some of the diagnostic tests, so there must be something wrong with it, but not enough to stop it from just, you know, giving us a black screen. It does actually boot to the regular basic prompt. The SID is the same story, and this is the one that I actually had in the last video where I was looking at SID noise reduction. This SID does work, but voice 3 is marginal. So still works well if you just want to test a machine to make sure, you know, the SID socket doesn't have an issue or something along those lines. Just not the kind of SID you want to actually listen to with proper music. So we'll stick that back in there for now, just so we know where it is. But yeah, all of the chips on here are probably going to go into saving some of these other boards. I don't really need a ZIF socketed 64 anymore. I mean, it was great when I first started out because, you know, I had no idea what I was doing, so swapping chips was the easiest way to solve problems. But I don't think I'm ever going to be building another ZIF 64. Finally, we have another board. This actually has a bottom case attached to it. Does have a VIC-II, which is promising. Don't know if that works, but it looks like I have put one of my previous RF replacements in this board, so I'm assuming it was working. Once again, we're missing a kernel ROM, SID, and PLA. So maybe we'll start with this board, populate the missing chips, and see if that VIC-II is working. And if so, well, I guess really all this thing needs is a case and maybe an upgrade to the RFOFF rather than this previous RF replacement. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if this was just in the pile of parts boards simply because it's missing the top half of the case. So, because this is a 425 board, the PLA and SID go in the same places as the ZIF board because it's also a 425. So that's nice and simple. And then we just need kernel ROM. All these chips should be working, well, except for the fault with the SID, but there shouldn't be any issues here. So, in theory, if the VIC-II is working, this board should just work. All right, everything's hooked up. Let's power on. And yes, okay. Had me worried for a second. So it looks like it's working. Let's just hook up the diagnostic harness just to be 100% sure. Yep, looks all good there. And you'll notice the SID actually sounds fine in this diagnostic test. However, if we load up a proper SID tester, so this is the SID tester by Andrew Chalet. Have a listen to voice 3. Okay, so for the most part in all those tests, it sound fine, except for the attack, decay, sustain, release tests. And how much of an effect this has when you're actually listening to a SID track, like whether you'd actually be able to spot it, I don't know for sure, but it's enough for me to say that this SID is not perfect and I wouldn't feel comfortable, including it in a fully working machine. So that's why I don't always rely on just the regular diagnostic tests to test the SID. But anyway, apart from that, this machine appears to be working. So yeah, I think the reason it was in here is just because it doesn't have a top cover. And I guess I'll swap the RF replacement out for the RFOFF because it will provide a bit better video output. And that's about it. All it really needs then is a matching top cover, which I mean, I kind of have, but this thing is pretty beaten up, and maybe I could mesh these two keyboards together. But anyway, that's not what we're here for. What we want to do is try and fix the proper broken boards. So I think we might leave the one that needs probably the most work until the end. Let's not go there yet. Let's try this board, which really only needs a VIC-II and a kernel ROM to actually boot into BASIC, but we may as well throw in the CIAs and the SID as well. Make sure that everything works together. And I've just noticed it has a group of MT RAM, so not going to hold my breath. So seeing as we've validated everything on this board is working, let's steal what we need from it. Oh, won't be able to steal the CIAs because they are not in sockets. All right. We'll figure it out. PLA we don't need, hopefully. SID we can grab from here. And kernel ROM we can grab from here. CIAs we can grab out of the ZIF board. Oh, and these CIAs have an odd quirk where the time of day clock runs slow. It doesn't like throw out weird numbers or anything, it just runs slower than it should. And also it doesn't seem to affect any of the other functionality of the CIAs. I actually found these in, I think it was a KU board, one of the rarer early PAL boards. And yeah, the CIAs work, but the time of day clocks run slow, and it doesn't matter what machine I put these in, it's always the same result. So let's throw them in this board and see if this, gonna need a different way to connect things, see if this thing works. Right, so we're just hooked up via composite video, so let's see what happens. Oh, I was about to say black screen, but no, once again, it just took a little bit longer than I expected. Okay, this seems to work as well, even with all of the MT RAM installed. I don't see any MOS logic, so I guess it's got that going for it. Let's hook up the harness, see what this one does. All right, let's go. Yeah, that is fully working. We don't need to hear the SID test. Let's run des test switch on this thing just to fully test out this memory and make sure it doesn't have some subtle fault. Well, so far so good, but I do notice the CIA clocks appear to get stuck at 8.8 seconds. Let's see if it happens again. Or 8 seconds. Oh, wow. Okay. I was just digging through my dead parts bin trying to find another MT RAM to see if it matched the ones that are also in this board. And, well, first of all, they look slightly different. These ones actually say USA down the bottom, whereas this dead one doesn't. So is that a sign that the ones marked with USA on them are reliable, or have I just gotten lucky? But, well, this thing just stopped in the final test saying that bit 4 is bad, so maybe I haven't gotten that lucky and bit 4, or whatever RAM I see corresponds to that, is actually bad. I'm going to run this test again and we'll see what happens. And yeah, both CAs appear to only be able to count up to 8. I don't think that would be causing bit 4 to fail though, but I don't know. We'll see. It's odd that it only picked it up in the very last test, which is a repeat of the previous tests. So did I just... Well, I don't think there's anything I did. I was standing over there looking through this drawer, so it's kind of weird that it failed in that way. I don't know about this one. Maybe that's why I put this board aside. Although back then, des test didn't exist, because Matt Desmond hadn't created this great bit of test kit for us, so I don't know. Maybe it failed in some other test years ago. I can't remember. I really should write notes on all these things. Oh, so many Nintendo SCPU-As. Oh, a dead 2114. Yes, I have found one single 2114 that went bad. These are usually used as the color RAM in the Commodore 64, where is it? Just there. Or as the onboard RAM in some of the VIC-20s, I think. So yeah, I have seen one of these die, but beyond that, they're pretty reliable, although they do run slightly warmer than the surrounding logic. There's another MT RAM, and once again, this one doesn't have the USA marking on it. It is a, what is that, 150 nanoseconds, I think that is, whereas these ones are 200 nanoseconds, so still not quite the same. And it says 413, which I'm guessing is 13th week of 84. And these are 437, so 37th week of 84. Maybe that means something. Maybe it's just I got lucky with these. Although the second run of the DES test hasn't finished yet, so, well, we're about to find out. Ah, so once again, failed on bit 4 in the final test, and also the first timer day clock now says 18, whereas the second one says 8. Is it the CIAs throwing this off? We're going to have to run this again with some known working CIAs. Right, fresh CIAs, let's do this all again. Oh, once again, bit 4. Let's just remove whatever RAM chip corresponds to bit 4 and see if that changes anything. There's a little idea for you, Matt Desmond, if you've got a little bit more space in these tests. A little chart of which data bit corresponds to which IC. That'd be cool. Well, according to the old dead test flash code chart, bit 4 corresponds to U23. That one. And it looks like all the pins on it are nice and short and also bent over, which makes things fun. Just holding on by that corner. Right, with that RAM chip out, let's just make sure that we actually pulled the right one, because I assume that's data bit 4. This is going to tell us pretty quickly if it is. Yes, okay, cool. Let's get a new one in. All right, some known working RAM. Let's try again. Oh. Need to actually put the cartridge in as well. And we wait. Whoa, that VIC-II really needs a heatsink. It is cooking. Ah, success. Wow, okay. So, this RAM chip was bad in the most marginal of ways, it seems. I mean, without DES test, I wouldn't have even suspected this, and it probably would practically have never come up. But I'm a lot more willing to trust Matt Desmond's test software than MT RAM. So I think the best course of action with this board, obviously stick an RFOFF in, but also replace all the rest of this MT RAM, because once again, I don't think it should be trusted. I am a little curious if the old-fashioned tests would have picked this up. Let's run the dead test, see what happens. Yeah, no issues with the old dead test. Well, that modified version of the dead test. Let's try the regular diagnostics. I really doubt it's going to pick it up in this either. Yeah, looks like it's going to pass. Oh, interesting. That is a very hard to spot fault. Yeah, bunch of bads because the harness isn't connected, but yeah, without DES test, I don't think would have ever, picked up on that. And who knows, it could have caused issues when, playing a random game and all of a sudden the machine might have crashed, and it would have been really hard to, track that one down without DES test. So good job, Matt Desmond, if you're watching. All right, let's unplug this board. I know that I need to replace the rest of this MT RAM, swap out the RF modulator, but beyond that, this should be fine. So before I forget, actually, you know what? I'm going to get this done now because otherwise I'm just going to put this board back into the pile of parts boards and it'll never get done. So let me swap out this RAM, replace the RF mod, and we'll come back when that's done. Right, well, our board upgrades are complete. Obviously, we've got the RFOFF in, all the RAM has been replaced, and while I was at it, I figured, well, why not replace the ROMs, because they're also in sockets. So I've put my replacement ROMs in here, along with the 4-switch kernel ROM, which is actually switchless, because it uses the restore key to swap between kernels. Which is kind of funny because I guess this doesn't have a keyboard for it at the moment, but well, I can worry about that later. I might cut off these hook clips and just solder these wires directly, but I include these with the kernel ROM because, say, somebody who doesn't have soldering experience or equipment to do it can still install one of these things provided their kernel ROM is already in the socket. But anyway, that all seems to be working, and it's currently running the des test switch. It's done a couple of runs through this and hasn't had any issues. And that's with these flaky CIAs in there, which I've updated the notes on. I also updated my notes on the SID because, yeah, it's obviously also bad. So good to have notes on things. I've got to remember to do that more often in the future. But yeah, this board is now working. The video output looks so much better. I actually grabbed some screenshots from the original RF modulator so we can see what composite and S video were looking like. And now with the new RFOFF, this is what composite and S video now look like. So yeah, so with all these upgrades complete, it's going to need some new CIAs and a new SID, but apart from that, I think this is now a proper nice board. And yeah, I'm going to put it aside and we'll go on to the next parts board. Oh, but before I do that, I do want to test this faulty RAM chip in this other RAM tester just to see if it comes back with anything different or if it just passes. So let's give that a shot first. So we should get 4 green lights if this thing tests okay. Which apparently it does, but as we've seen, DesTest eventually said it tested bad, so I don't trust this thing, and as all the other RAM chips are also MT RAM, I don't really trust these either, so I'm not going to be putting these back in any other boards. The ROMs all still work fine, they're just power hungry and run a bit hot, so I'll put these aside, keep them as spares. Alright, the third board looks to be in pretty decent condition. It's a 407 board, and I really like the sort of dark green silk screen on these particular boards. Some of the 407s have that lighter green, which is fine, but yeah, something about this dark green I really like. Let's open this can because I'm guessing there's not going to be a VIC-II inside. No. And there's a bit of thermal paste from the little heatsink on it. All right, let's get a VIC-II in there, see what it does. Which means I'll have to pull it back out of this board. And yes, I did throw a heatsink on top of this thing to hopefully prolong its life. All right, VIC-II is in. Let's just throw the other stuff in while we're here. All right. Is it just that this thing works? It looks like somebody recapped it, so maybe it got damaged during that? I don't know. All right, let's give it a go. We've got video. Once again, we've got a working board by the looks of it. Let's see what our diagnostic tests say about that. We'll start with the test harness. Why have I lost video? That's weird. Yep, everything looks fine there. Yeah, we know what the SID sounds like. Des test. I assume it's safe to just leave all these plugged in. Let's see. Well, everything looks to be working. What's really interesting though is those time of day clocks. I think they're correct. Oh, no, maybe they're stuck. No, I wasn't watching. I think it passed. Yes. But the time of day clocks are still stuck. Oh, they've jumped to... I don't know what they're doing. They're all over the place, but we already knew that. Right, one more thing I do want to test is this ceramic VIC-II, because I'm sure that it mostly works, but it causes some kind of crash or something. I don't really remember, but now's a good time while I'm making notes on everything else to also make a proper note for this thing. Let's see. Oh, so far so good. Okay, so nothing bad happened there. Maybe this VIC-II does work properly. Let's go back to the normal diagnostics, just in case. No, once again, that's fine. What else can we throw at this VIC-II? Dead test? I suppose we should try that, just in case. Ooh, a wild hank appears. What on earth is that? Are you right there? You're just gonna sit like that? No. Get off of me. Bye. It's a giant fluff ball. Alright, that also worked. Why did I put an X on this then? I'm sure it had some kind of strange issue. That's one. W, D, V. Maybe it was a sprite test, like it's got a bad sprite. It didn't show it in that test, but I have a feeling that's what it was, and one of these other tests will actually show it. Hey. Not that one. Where is it? Not that one. Do we just do this? It's going to give me the 411. Does it really want the harness to be hooked up again? I don't think it's that one then. I'm sure. Doctor? No, we did that. One of these? Yes, I think it's this one. There, that cyan colored disc thing. That's what it is. And I'm sure it shouldn't look like that. Let's throw the other VIC-II back in. I think I may have actually spotted that issue like while playing a game with that VIC-II, and then that actual test showed it off. Well, confirmed that it was a problem. Let's just make sure I'm not going crazy. So that one. Obviously the colors look different because the ceramic VIC-II doesn't have as many luma levels, but that's not actually a fault. That's just the difference between the older and the newer VIC-IIs. Let's see. Yeah, see, so it remains solid the whole test. And on this VIC-II, it doesn't do that. So one of the sprites is broken somehow. So it's still, just like the SID and the CIAs, it still mostly works. So how am I going to note that? Right, there we go. Works, but bad sprite. I'm not going to try and put a heatsink on this thing. Just like these other chips, there's no point heat sinking them because they're already partially bad anyway, so it's not going to be a big loss if they die completely from cooking themselves. But right now I'm going to need these things back, so you can see I've already added a note to this board saying it needs CIAs, SID, PLA, VIC-II, 4-kernel, RFOFF, case and keyboard. But it works. Let's get a heatsink on this PLA while we're at it. 906114. So I usually write what the actual IC part number is on the underside, just in case I ever take like a PLA and a SID out, because they're both 28-pin packages. If there's heatsinks on top of them, it's kind of hard to tell them apart. And just mark that. If you're wondering where I get all these heatsinks from, they come from a seller on AliExpress. I'll put a link in the video description to where you can find these. There we go. Well, I just remembered that I made a whole bunch of these slim PLAs. These are like the GAL PLA, just slimmed down to a smaller package. So don't need PLAs for any of these because I've got plenty of these things. So that can go in there. And that's one thing off the list. The cheapest thing, pretty much. Yay. We'll give the CPU its own heatsink while we're here, just because it's just something I like to do. Keep everything cool. Right, that'll do this board for now. I'll probably replace all 3 of the ROMs anyway, so I'm not going to bother heat sinking them. Let's put this aside. I guess that only leaves this board. The other boards, this one, I have put a note on as well. So once again, we need CIAs. We don't need a PLA because I can put one of these in, which goes in this spot on this board. This one, yeah, replace the RF. It's got this PLA in it, which is fine. It's a Oz PLA version 1.1. I've never had any issues with it, so it's fine to stay in there. Of course, yeah, kernel, SID, VIC-II, and all the other stuff is socketed on this thing, so I probably won't pull out the other 2 ROMs on this one. Might just leave that as it is. And of course, we've got a bottom half of the case, but no real top half. I guess if these match, which I think the clips do, sort of. Don't know if they're the same clips. Maybe they're not. No, they do not want to go together. So the bread bin cases have, I think, 3 different types of clips, and the bottom half of the cases also have 3 different types of, well, these cutouts. So some of them don't fit together with others, and I think that's exactly what's happening here. So even if I did want to use this crappy old top case, it's not really going to fit with this bottom case, and obviously it's very two-tone at the moment. So that's not really going to work either. However, the ZIF board, no, the old ZIF board case looks to have those same types of cutouts. Ooh, my color RAM has fallen out. Like I said, I have to retire this board because it's just become too flaky. So as a piece of what I used for test equipment, if your test equipment becomes flaky, it's not really reliable test equipment anymore, is it? If we do a bit of this, looks like the replacement screw post thingy has fallen off. Yeah, that doesn't really... Oh, it does fit together. And it almost matches. Wait, is that the right top case? Oh, maybe that's the original top case for this bottom case. That's interesting. As I said, I've gotten very lost with where I'm up to with half of these boards, so it's no surprise that cases have also been mixed up. And yeah, most of the other bits on the ZIF board, not really all that useful. I mean, there is a little bit of logic and obviously the RAM, but most of that is all soldered into the board. The ROMs are there, but they're just the original ones. CPU, I'm pretty sure still works, so I guess that's useful. I can always take the RFOFF out of this board, so I can still use that elsewhere. Oh, and it's got one of those modern 8701 clock generator replacements, so worth keeping that around. Beyond that, this board is too far gone for repairs. Getting these ZIF sockets out is quite a pain, as is getting them in because they have fairly chunky pins on them. So yeah, once they're in the board, it's a real pain in the ass to try and get them out. I did replace the VIC-II one, and that was an absolute nightmare. And after that, I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. I've got to just say goodbye to this thing. So this is definitely a parts board and will forever be a parts board. No resurrecting this one. These three boards are practically good to go. These two need RF replacements. All three of them need a VIC-II. All three need a SID. Two of them need CIAs and probably some kernel ROM replacements and other ROMs. But at least I know they're all fully working and I've noted them as such. When it comes to this board, this is going to be quite a challenge, and I think as this video has already gone on long enough, I think we're going to have to leave this till next time. I do want to at least try and get it going because it does seem like it'll be a pretty fun challenge, but right now it is past beer o'clock and I'm rather thirsty, so we're going to leave this one here. Thank you all for watching. Of course, everything I've shown in this video, the RFOFF, the ROM replacements, heat sinks, all those kind of things, I'll leave links to in the video description, so definitely check there if you're interested. Of course, some of those products are made by me, but I guess, what would you rather? Me advertise my own products or advertise somebody else's through some kind of sponsorship? It is what it is. So yeah, thank you all for watching. A huge thanks to the people that support the channel on Patreon. If you want to do that, links to that are down in the video description, like everything else I just mentioned. You'll get ad-free early access to all videos, along with discounts on the Electron store, where you can purchase some of my products, well, all of my products, and other good stuff behind the scenes things every now and then. It is definitely beer o'clock, so that is it for me. Thank you all for watching. Leave me a comment down below if you have any ideas for what I should do with all these boards, and you know, if I should put them in brand new cases, whatever. And I will catch you all in the next one. Bye. This thing can stop recording, and you can stop recording. And you can stop recording.